You're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit, and our very special guest, Kevin Michael Johnson. Yes, indeed. We have yet more questions. We're not letting you go just yet. So We'll ask you the last few questions that I've got, and then got to turn it over to the audience. We've got a couple more minutes, folks, if you have a question. We've got a bunch to go through already, so you better make it quick. Email themurloc@gmail.com or send me a PM in the IRC channel, irc.quakenet.org, # or pound CynicalBrit. So, here's a nice broad stroke question for you. Do you ever think that there will be a wide acceptance of MMO gaming within the general population?
Oh gosh, I think that is an intriguing question, and again, one that I certainly don't know. I have a full answer on. One that I think this documentary is hoping to probe a little bit more. I think it's certainly going to become a wider spread experience. We're even seeing the growth and incredibly huge, surprising numbers come out of games like out of social networks like Facebook. You know, these little social games like Farmville, et cetera, et cetera. We're seeing more and more people engaging in activities like that. Which, sure, they're not rating. They're not as complicated or as involved as that. But what you're seeing is a growing awareness of socialized gaming happening within a broader audience. Maybe you'd call it a more casual audience. I'm not sure. But the vocabulary is growing within a wider world for this type of experience to happen. So I'm certain that it's the climate for this is going to be growing in its warmth. People are doing it more often and engaging in it more often, and I'm certainly sure it's going to become a huge part of our cultural vocabulary in the future. Again, why focus on rating? I think it's a provocative and exciting subject to ask some of these deeper questions. I think it will have a huge impact on our future. It will be the way we entertain ourselves in the future, and the way we experience community from within a broader, more global, entertainment world. I should say, yeah.
Fantastic. Right, so before we go on to the listener questions, there is an issue of funding for this particular video. Now, making good videos costs money, ladies and gentlemen. This might be a foreign concept to some of you. However, when you're traveling around and you've got a lot of equipment and you've got a lot of man-hours being put into something like this, then money is required. So, how much did you say you needed exactly to complete the movie?
Yeah, so let me give you a little background. When I launched this initial project, I basically said, okay, I want to create a short film that can capture the full essence of what I see in a full length production. So I said, well, how can I do that the cheapest way possible? And still involve the quality that I desire. And I, worked this out, and I said, with $12,000, I'll be able to produce the quality of the short film that I want. And be able to get the interviews, like you said, travel to the locations I need to interview the individuals that I really feel like have a place in this piece. $12,000. I started that out on Kickstarter. It's been about almost 2 months of fundraising. We're sitting at about $9,000 right now, which is just tremendous, even farther along than I thought we'd be. But the way Kickstarter works is you set your goal. You say, hey, I have a dream. That dream will require this amount of money. And you say, I have this amount of time to raise that money. I chose 3 months. And if you raise or meet your goal by that 3 months, when that 3 months ends, hooray, you have it and you set to work. However, if you don't reach your goal, all of that, all the donations you had received up until the conclusion of your fundraising period is given back to the givers. And the reason that Kickstarter does that is, they want to make sure that your vision is able to be successful with the budget that you intended. And, and then your donators... Yeah, and that your donators aren't given a half version of what it is you initially envisioned. So we're shooting for $12,000 by, I guess we have about 40 days left, something like that. And anyways, that site is linked through our main site, which is jointherade.com. And you can check that out. We have our current interview video up on the main video on that page. And we also have donor rewards for the different tiers of donations. So, if you give $10, you get this particular reward, and then you can see all those tiers laid out on the page at jointherade.com.
Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, So, we've done a bit of fundraising in the past, remember? We raised over $4,000 to make sure that the fantastic WoW Nerdcore Rap Star's cat got the surgery that she needed. So, I think we can manage this. What do you think? If you think that we can raise the $3,000 to get this movie on the go, then I would like you to let us know in the IRC channel. Let us know as loud as humanly possible. So, this is the sound of clicking keys, folks. This is the sound of me going to tinyurl.com/theraidmovie. And I am clicking the backing button right here. And those two button presses there were for $10. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. But, how many listeners do we have? We were the most popular WoW show on iTunes in the UK last week. We are in the top 25 on the US. We have tens of thousands of listeners. Are you telling me that tens of thousands of listeners, tens of thousands of generous listeners that believe in the value of a video like this cannot raise a measly $3,000? Are you chicken? Is that your problem, ladies and gentlemen? I think that you can raise that money. I think that you can raise this money incredibly fast. So I'm going to start us off with a mere $10. All we need is another 300 of you guys to do exactly the same. 300 out of tens of thousands. How easy is that? Just donate as much as you can, or as little as you can. There's benefits to it. You get donor status on TankSpot, in fact, if you donate a certain amount. TankSpot are helping out with this. So head on over, tinyurl.com/theraidmovie. I've just donated my $10. Why don't you go do it? You go fund a project. Go see the results of this, and of course you get your name in the credits.
That's right.
It's a good cause, folks. I expect this to be sorted out by next week. And if it's not, ladies and gentlemen, you will meet the worst form of wrath you can ever imagine. Indeed. Now, I would have some kind of bet on saying I will sing Britney Spears if we don't get there, but that won't work. Like, okay, let's put this out right here. I will sing, ladies and gentlemen, a parody version of a Britney Spears track live on the air next week, only on cynicalbrit.com. If you fulfill that goal by next week. Pledge. Wow. Right out there. There you go.
That's awesome.
I'm
definitely tuning in for that one.
Yes, as will everyone. Oh, my credibility. Right. We've got some listener questions. Let's get on with it. So let's start off with some from the IRC right here. Easy one for you right here. It's from Natona, and he asks, and a couple of people asked this, when is the estimated release of this movie?
Yeah, that's a great question. Part of that's going to depend on, well, number one, the completion of our fundraising, but also on how we can arrange some of these interviews. But given that, I would certainly say sometime this summer. It wouldn't take us long to get it put together and out once we have all the footage captured. But so the fundraising ends on April 9th, and even if we achieve our goal, we still have to wait for that period to take place, just because that's the way Kickstarter does their stuff. April 9th, that will conclude, and we'll set to work ideally on just getting those interviews done, capturing the footage we need with the guild that we're working with, and hopefully we'll have it finished before the end of the summer. That would be my goal.
Okay, so will you be interviewing anyone from the corporate side of gaming? After all, gaming is a business at the end of the day. That's a question from Kamada in the IRC. Yeah,
that's a terrific question. You know, my goal would be to have some Blizzard people in on this film and to be interviewed specifically because, I mean, the film is particularly about WoW Raiders. It's not necessarily about World of Warcraft, as I mentioned before. It's definitely about the bigger MMO picture and the social experience of what's happening in something like World of Warcraft, but the vehicle through which we're using to bring about that conversation is certainly WoW raiding. So yeah, I would love to have sit-down interviews, and indeed I'm working on that with people from Blizzard or other such corporate entities, because MMO gaming is huge business. It's massive, and to leave that part out of the conversation would certainly be ignorant on my part. So that's certainly something we're working on.
Absolutely fantastic. So, got a question here that brings into the tank spot. We want to talk about the tank spot. Everyone wants to talk about the tank spot, apparently. Got a couple of questions here. So, this one's from Jay Guzzi, 2008, and he says, how was working with the tank spot crew, and do you get to sit in on their raids and such?
Oh man, tank spot is terrific. Honestly, I don't know I don't know. I don't know if this film would have legs if it wasn't for TankSpot. I've been around that community for a while, and I've known Ciderhelm for a while, and it's just such a terrific place. Very supportive, very educational, as you've mentioned already on the show. Just a real warm community. And if you are out there and you're listening and you haven't experienced the donor forums, it really is a super community of people, very kind and certainly interested in rating at the highest level, and figuring out how to help and educate people do that to do that easily. And love TankSpot, love the community there, love the people there. What was the other question? Have I ever sat in on the raids? I have had some experience with some of the films on TankSpot. Actually, I actually personally used to raid with Eventide back in the day, and it's been a while since I raided with them. I haven't actually been playing in a while, but I did a little bit of raiding with Eventide and raided with Ciderhelm, and I've actually been involved with or at least been filmed in a couple of the earlier videos back in the day.
So Holly's got a question here, and she says, sure. I would think a question I'd like answered is how receptive the WoW community that you have approached has been. She's found that the general stereotype for a raider is an elitist jerk and almost snobbish attitude. So did you find that, or did you find a kind of welcoming community, or something in between?
Yeah, I've every individual I've talked to about this and even approached, to ask about an interview, they've been thoroughly interested and wanted to help out. I haven't found any resistance from the raiding community or the gaming community at all. If anything, just felt fully embraced. And and that's people from all different types. Like the first interview video we put out, I had Fame from. He currently raids with Might, but he raided with Premonition and Vodka and Drow. Like, this is someone who's been, he's been in the top guilds in the world, at least in the U.S. And, he's, such a super kind guy. I mean, you can even see it in the interview. Very thoughtful and super excited about the documentary. And even there are other members from Might that are currently helping out with trying to get some cinematic footage and stuff like that. So, if anything, I've just felt fully embraced by the hardcore side of the WoW world. But then also, I'm currently working on a promotional video that will feature female raiders, and I've done one interview already, and I'm planning to do 2 more this weekend, and hopefully have a little promo video out in the next week or so. And that's been really, really cool. Just the energy and excitement surrounding that. I get emails, people saying, we're really excited to see that video on female raiders. And so that's going to be fun. Hopefully I'll be able to meet people's expectations for this little video. But so I don't know. I hope I'm answering the question, but felt fully embraced and certainly haven't been turned off by the hardcore raiding world, and if anything, I felt really embraced by them in this project.
Fantastic. This question has come in from a number of people, and they ask, how long do you intend the video to actually be at the end?
Oh gosh, I initially had thought it was going to be shorter than I know it's going to be. It's going to end up being longer than I expect. I have a feeling, just because I'm pretty passionate about the topic and trying to get a lot of people involved with it. So, I had initially speculated that it would be a pretty short film, maybe around 20 minutes, something like that. But I'm certain it's going to be over a half hour, if anything, probably more, given the amount of footage and the guild that I'm following and trying to get, all the webcam and cinematic footage in there. It's going to be longer than I expect. But over a half hour, something like that.
Excellent. A quick and dirty question. Any plan to interview the guy from the Anixia wipe video? More dots now.
Yeah, I don't know. Hadn't thought specifically about interviewing him, but
I wonder why.
We're open to suggestions, but
it'll be M-rated if you did, I think.
Yeah, but I hadn't specifically thought about interviewing him.
Well, there you go. That's the answer to that one. Sorry, disappointment, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
No Elixir wipe guy. That's probably for the best when you think about it. Fantastic. One last question here,
sure.
And then we'll wrap it up for the day. This is from Azir, and he says, how do you plan on advertising this to the general public and getting it outside of gaming communities?
Yeah, I've had a couple film sites reach out to me about this film topic. There are a couple sites that basically are ways to promote short films or film projects. I guess they're sites that a lot of producers will frequent and looking at new work that's under progress and in pre-production. And basically you have your own little website on some of these greater film sites, and you can promote your ideas, and that would ideally be somewhere I can put this short film and work on bringing about some awareness from bigger sources of funding to try to get a feature-length film made about the topic. Also, we would be looking at trying to put it in some film festivals. Theoretically, we'd have to find the right ones that we feel like it would fit with, but yeah, running it as a documentary and in some film festivals, and hopefully again raise some awareness that way. And then just networking. I have a network of contacts here in New York City, and we'll be shopping it around there. And there's a bunch of people involved in the project from across the country, and ideally they'd be able to get it to their contacts. And this whole thing has kind of been born about through word of mouth and the internet kind of network happening. So I'm certain it'll find its place through something like that, just spreading the word.
Fantastic. So. Right, well, we are out of time for this particular interview. Kevin, thank you ever so much for coming to talk to us today.
Yeah, absolutely, TB. Thank you for having me, and thanks to the listeners for being here.
No problem at all. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mr. Kevin Michael Johnson in the IRC channel. And go check out his site, tinyurl.com/The Raid Movie. I expect that meter filled in 7 days' time. Get to it! Get to it now. Go watch some Cars or something. Do some physical activity. It's good for you. Right, I'm going to play some fantastic music from Louveté. Right now, it's Innes Mona. I'll be right back after this to tell you a bit about the Plague Wing and how Putricide died horribly under the blades and mages of our guild. Enjoy.